Wolves are reportedly interested in Juventus right-back Nicolo Savona. Now, I really like this as a signing for a number of reasons. In this video, I'm going to tell you why I like the signing, why I like him as a player, where I think he'd fit in this system, and how I think he would operate for Wolves next season if he was to come in. So let's get straight into this one. Now, why am I such a big fan of Savona as a player? There's a few reasons, mainly because he's very versatile and malleable, and due to his age as well, 22 years old, players around that age do tend to be. Now, last season, under Thiago Motta, before he was ultimately dismissed as Juventus manager, Juventus tended to play a 4-2-3-1 with the likes of Coop Miners, which just never really worked in the 10. But Savona was often on that right hand side. He made 19 starts last season in the league. I think he played 27 in total in terms of appearances in the league. But last season he was absolutely exemplary. Now, this specific lineup is very relevant to what we're going to speak about. So for me, his best game last season was against Udinese. He scored in that game. I think he won 3 out of his 4 ground duels in that game. He also managed to have 2 key passes from right back in that game as well. Now, this was massively due to his relationship with Weah. Weah would often come inside or also cover for Savona, while Savona was allowed to go forward and flourish. And that's something I think is really important to recognise when we speak about Wolves next season, is the fact that Savona is, if he did come in, which I think it's unlikely at this current stage, but if he did come in, he's one of these players that wouldn't mind doing this role, but also wouldn't mind going on the outside of whoever's playing as that number 10. And if it is Fer Lopez, we know Fer Lopez wants to operate in these areas like Pablo Sarabia would. So the idea that Savona could go out on the outside and create those chances for the likes of Strand Larsen in this case in the middle would be massive. Now, last season he was absolutely brilliant in that Udinese game, as I said, got on the score sheet, and there was a period where he did score quite regularly. He also scored against Hellas Verona. In about that month, I think he scored 2 of his goals in that month. And generally really, really impressed me in that sort of period of the season. Now, the reason I think it's very interesting as well, we've also seen Juventus play a 3 at the back, and again, sometimes Weston McKennie's played as that right wing, right midfield / right wing back option, but Savona has also done it as well, and that's where I think he will be doing it for Wolves, of course. Wolves massively have an impact on the game in terms of their wing backs. They have done ever since it was Barry Douglas and Doherty in the Championship, then it was Johnny and Doherty, and then it was Aït-Nouri and Semedo. They've always had a massive influence down those flanks from the wide men, and those wide men are often wing backs more often than wingers, to be quite honest. I think even when Doherty and Traoré were playing, the more effective one actually arguably was Doherty. He allowed Traoré to not only play better, but also allowed in those overlapping runs to cause a bit of confusion and stuff like that. And I think for me, Savona has all of that in abundance, and he's someone, again, I really, really like. There are a few drawbacks, which we will speak about in the next part, but I do really like him as a profile. I think he's a very, very exciting talent, and I'm interested to see the fee. If the fee is ridiculous, then I'll be very sort of reserved about this. But if Wolves can get it for a decent fee, they're getting a hell of a player, especially for just 22 years old as well. Now, as I've said, Savona is a very exciting profile for numerous reasons. His age, of course, the fact that he is 6'3" as well, I think plays a massive part. And as I've spoken about on this channel many times, you will know Wolves lack stature. That's one thing this side lacks. They have got a few big lads, don't get me wrong. Agbadu's big, Larsen's big, Mosquera's big, but they lack big lads around the squad generally. Look at the midfield, Andre, João Gomez, Bellegarde, they're not massive lads. Fer Lopez is about 6 foot, to be fair, he's not too small. Arias, very small. Even last season, the likes of Sarabia, Aït-Nouri, they're not the tallest lads, but I think the fact that physical stature is being picked up on by so many clubs. Look at Leeds' transfer strategy. They've brought in so many big lads, and I do think that counts for something. And I think Vitor Pereira wants those physically imposing players in his side, so that is a massive plus when it comes to Nicolo Savona for Wolves next season. However, what are the drawbacks with Savona? You must be thinking, oh, he's almost a perfect profile. Well, this is the issue. As you can see here, since 2021-22, he has missed around 30 games of football. Now, it's not terrible, because ultimately that could be from it's realistically from around mid 2022 to 2025, so it's not great. But when you look at the days he's missed, it's pretty poor. 77 days there for an injury to the ankle so far currently. 145 days for knee surgery, of course. That's one, again, you can't really, it's not necessarily going to be a recurring injury, but it's definitely something to consider. So again, injury wise, it's a risk, but I think every player is a risk these days. And like I've said with Wolfer, he's got a gleaming injury record, but what's to say he doesn't come in next season and get injured because of the intensity of Premier League football, and vice versa with Savona. What's to say he doesn't come in and doesn't get any injuries because of the quality of the medical staff. So, you can look at it from both ways, but that's just one of the main drawbacks for me when it comes to Savona that I think Wolves should definitely, and fans should definitely be wary of. Now, as you can see on screen, this is Savona's Serie A heat map from last season. And again, he's very comfortable on the opposite flank as well. He's not played too much there, but he doesn't look out of place when he has had to play there at times. Again, he's also filled in as a right-sided centre-back when they've played that back three formation. He has often moved there, perhaps to the likes of McKennie or Weah to come on as that wing-back option, to then have almost two wing-backs really, when they're really going for it. Often last season, he would fill in as that right centre-back and also push up as well, almost leaving two or three at the back at times and having two wing-backs, two very offensive players on that right-hand side bombing forward, and he was key to that. Now, for me, I think he's a really, really exciting signing. I think Savona's great. Like I say, the drawbacks are his injury record, and for me, in terms of defensively, he's nowhere near the best yet, and he can definitely improve, and like I said previously, he is very malleable, and something that I don't think is too much of a drawback for young players. I think they can adapt to that, and I think he absolutely has that. I think also, like I say, physically, he's not going to take a long time to, develop in the Premier League or adapt to the Premier League because he is so physically strong. He's big, he's tall, he's quick. And generally, he's one of these players that I think would slot in perfectly in the Premier League as well if he could stay fit. So I think that is the only drawback for me, is his injury record. Now, in terms of defensively, I briefly touched on it there. He's very sort of good at retaining the ball. He's very good at progressing the ball when he's on it as well. But in terms of his defensive actions, aside from that, it is quite concerning in my personal opinion. He's not that unbelievable in the tackle. Generally playing wing back for Juventus, he hasn't had to be that much anyway, because a lot of their game was focused on him progressing the ball up the pitch, and his progressive carries are brilliant, and the way that he drags the team up the pitch from the right hand side is really impressive. Similar to Semedo in a way, in terms of, but with better delivery and more of a goal threat, definitely, in my personal opinion. He's got a really, really good goal threat for a player that's just 22 years old, playing the wing-back position as well. So that's something for Wolves to look at as well. Now, as I've said, defensively not unbelievable in the duels, really, but in terms of retaining the ball and winning back possession, he's really, really good at that. And if he does lose it, he'll win it back quickly. If someone else loses it, he'll win it back quickly for them and give it and go, or perhaps pick up the ball and drive with it. He's not afraid to do that. And I think at 22 years old, at the height that he is, playing the position that he is, playing at the size of the club that he is as well, the expectation on the players at that club, especially when you've got the likes of Cambiasso, another unbelievable talent on the opposite side, getting all the plaudits. I think it's not an easy environment, especially at Juventus, but I do think he is one of them that would be absolutely brilliant, not only for Wolves, but anyone in the Premier League next season. Now, I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, please like it. Comment, let me know what you think about him as a signing. I'd be really excited about the signing of him coming in personally. I think he would be absolutely brilliant as an asset to Wolves. Let me know what you thought about this video. As I've said, let me know what you thought about my presentation maybe as well. Hope it was okay. Obviously a new implementation of the tactics board as well, to break down a bit of sort of analysis so I can put forward my thoughts on paper for you guys to see. Also, like I say, if you did enjoy it, please subscribe to the channel, because we are 20 subscribers away from an absolutely incredible 1,800 subscribers. So I'd really appreciate it if you could help me get to that goal. The main goal before the start of the Premier League season is 2,000 subscribers. We haven't got many days to go. I think we've got about 9 days until Liverpool's opening game. But I would absolutely love it if you could all subscribe to the channel and help me sort of try and reach that goal. Thank you all for watching this video. I hope you did learn something in this video today, and I hope you did enjoy, and I'll see you in the next one.